What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Thursday night edition of your favorite Philly sports talk, Fourth and Go, Philly 4-4, so much more. I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Mark Tomasini, and we are winning. We usually talk about winning Wednesdays, but with the Eagles in the NFC Championship, we're going to talk a whole lot about winning on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and hopefully it comes Sunday. With that said, let me bring in my man, Mark Tomasini with the AJ, the 1-1.
You know it. 1-1. What up? What up? It's a winning Thursday, even though we did have a winning Wednesday. Thank you to the Philadelphia 76ers taking care of the Brooklyn Nets, solidifying themselves in the 2 seed. That's exciting. So while we have, and like I said last week, we're going to see how the Sixers play when the pressure's on. Right now, though, our focus is on the Eagles. We'll touch the Sixers later, but things are looking good right now. We're excited, and this is, anticipating the biggest game we've had in 5 years. So, it's exciting. It's a great time. Great time to be a Philly sports fan.
It's a Philly thing. That's right. That's what it is. It's a great time to be a Philly sports fan. We've talked about it since the Phillies made that improbable run to the World Series. This has just been such a top of the mountain roller coaster ride, and we're loving it. But one of these teams needs to cash in. And talking about the Sixers real fast, you said, they're rolling, they're doing some good things. Damn the Knicks. They were up 10 late, and now it's going to overtime. They could have given another L on those Celtics. They still might get there, but now we got to start looking at the 1 seed. And like you said, we will get into that a little bit down the road in this show. But while we're at it, let's jump right into the night that was last Saturday night, January 21st, 2023. And what was the biggest game in 5 years precludes the biggest game in 5 years coming up this Sunday. And that's because the Philadelphia Eagles smashed down the New York Giants. I had about a 14, 17-point victory. They did way more than we expected. I think, what were you, around the 10-point range?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So we both thought something comfortably, but gave the Giants probably maybe a dab more respect than they deserved. I mean, I knew they weren't good. I knew they weren't scoring more than 14, but man, 7 was lucky. The Eagles did everything right, including getting that opening kickoff and going right down the field. I sit in the end zone. I was there that night. I know, Mark, you were too. And I can tell you from the start, from the jump, I actually got in that game pretty early.
Yeah.
That place was rocking.
It was absolutely rocking. I've been trying to explain it to, my family and friends I've seen since. And I was like, I've never seen anything like it. And I was just at the Phillies World Series in Game 4. Obviously, it was a no-hitter, but the electricity in that place was fantastic until the game started, because we had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. The fans tried, but it was live. It was lively at the Phillies game, but this was double that, triple that, quadruple that. It was bodies everywhere, people everywhere. Right when me and my friend Adam pulled up on Pattison, just people everywhere. I've never, it was a spewing of people. You would think that there was 3 million people in the sports complex between Xfinity, Citizens Bank Park Lot, and Wells Fargo and Lincoln Financial. I mean, people everywhere. We had the park so far down, and this was 5:30 at night. So over, 2.5 hours before kickoff. And we were in a part of Citizens Bank parking lot that I've never been before. That far down, again, over 2.5 hours before the game. Obviously, people like the tailgate, but I mean, and just every tailgate was not 5 people. Every tailgate was 50, 60 people. And I mean, just wall to wall, people everywhere. This is just setting up before even getting into the stadium. It took about 15, 20 minutes probably to get into the stadium. And this was around 7:45. And you'll probably say the same thing, but the fact that every single person in that stadium was at their seat before the national anthem, you could just feel it. I've been to sold out Eagles games before, but I never felt anything like it. The stadium felt so small because there were so many people, and it was just buzzing and just electricity throughout.
I think that's a good way to put it. Thanks for checking in, Cease. We're flying high. 38-17. You hit the one, and you weren't far off the other. I got to tell you, if you got – man, that's close. That's really close because, I mean, Richie James did drop a touchdown there, but, I mean, great call on that. Definitely a smooth sail. And a lot of times I like to say one smooth sail leads to a very tight one. We'll get into that shortly, but maybe I'm hoping we get 2 smooth sails coming up. But yeah, Mark, the way you explained it is pretty accurate. For me, I parked down just south of the Wells Fargo Center in the Navy Yard. Hung out there for a little bit, then headed to a bar right at the corner there called the Gatehouse to watch the end of the Chiefs game. Got to see that for a little bit. Actually sat next to a couple Giants fans. They were feeling good, and their big, I guess their big thing was you can't beat a team 3 times in a row. Okay.
Right.
If that's what you're laying on, then okay, gotcha. I mean, that means nothing, but okay, got it. And but they were cool, they were fine. And then I get into the game a little early, like you said, the walk, it's packed, everybody's rocking. Getting to the stadium, that's the most people I've seen before kickoff in a long, 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 long time. Everybody was amped up and ready to go. And that first drive, to just open with the play to Goddard, a good run, and then the play to Devontae.
Yep.
Tremendous. And you can see that developing, and just they weren't stopped on that opening drive. And any doubt you had about Hurts's condition of health was erased instantly in those first few minutes there. And there was just no chance. Then they get the Giants panic, right? On their first drive. Is that their first drive? They go that 4th and 8.
I don't know if it's the first or second. I'm trying to recall.
Yeah. Either way, very early. They panic. They go for a 4th and 8. He gets sacked or negative, or a 0-yard run. And it was over. It was over as soon as it started, pretty much. The Giants panicked, couldn't get it, knew they couldn't play with the Eagles. And from there on out, it was smooth sailing. And the dominance in the running game is something that we highlighted. It was one of those take advantage, use your force. And I think they did that all the way through to a 28-0 lead at halftime.
It was one of those things where they were able, I think I alluded to this last week about how they ran at Micah Parsons. They were able to run at Kayvon Thibodeau. You saw him all night. He was throwing his hands up left and right. It was great because they set up the run pretty early, but then they went over the top to Devontae not long after. I think it was the second or third play of the game. Like you said, you were like, that was a beautiful ball by Jalen. He couldn't have done it any better himself, and it looked effortless. And you're like, okay, I agree with you. Any questions about the shoulder, they're out the window right now. He looked good. He knows when to slide versus when not. He didn't have to do too much running. What'd they run for 260-something yards, I think, like that?
Yeah,
they obliterated them. I mean, you look at it, they scored 28 in the first half. They still scored 10 in the second. And really, the only reason why they got the 10 was that Gainwell touchdown, but on that long run. But they were able to just take them out of the game early because their first 2 touchdowns were Devontae and Dallas through the air. They didn't have to pass again after that, being up 14-0. They just went into cruise control, but didn't let up. The fact that they went into halftime 28-0. I will say the only part where I got a little was that first drive by the Giants in the third quarter. They go and they score a touchdown.
Yeah.
They were efficient. They were running the ball well, but then the Eagles defense clamped back down after that, and it was fine. And it was perfectly fine. You said that miss by Richie James that's the moment that, because there was still, I think it was, I don't even think we
31-7, but still.
Was it 31-7 at that point?
Or 28-7, one of the two. But I
28 or 31. But that, I was just like, this game is over at this moment because that touchdown puts them back in it. Or if that play happens, it takes the wind out of our sails. It didn't happen. It just wasn't their night. It was the Eagles' night, and they were closed down. They had the energy, and they were all in. Everybody was all in. They looked great.
Yeah. So Adam, yes, I am going down Sunday. That's the plan. We'll see about time, place, and location, but I'll be in the seats. That's for sure. I'm hoping to get there a little early. And make it an event. I got a couple of quick stories. I've been to every NFC championship game they've had here in recent years, going back to Tampa at the Vet, to Carolina here, to Falcons, to the Vikings. And in those romps, it's 2-2 now at home. Looking to make this a nice 3-2. And I think I got a really good feeling that the energy in the stadium will be a big difference come this Sunday. So, yeah, I'll be down there. I can't wait. AJ, I'll get into why I am 100% on board with you and why Mark's wearing that jersey. But to wrap up the Giants game, pretty much I look at it this way. The Giants had a year that was very fortunate for them.
Yeah.
They were able to, win some close ones and get some right bounces. I go back to week 1 in the 2-point conversion against Tennessee, which really flipped their year to be in a positive way. Dabo squeezed the best he could out of that orange. That's a bad team. That's a bad roster. And, people are giving them the DAP for being on the up and up. That team is not even anywhere, in my opinion, on the up and up. They have a lot of critical decisions to make over this offseason. Daniel Jones 1, Saquon Barkley 2, and God, what do they do with those receivers? Because there's none of them. Tight end is in. Defensive line, okay. Thibodeau, okay. Lawrence, but
Leonard Williams.
Or Leonard, I meant, yeah.
But that's for Lawrence.
Lawrence, that's what I said. Okay,
they have a D line. I'll give them that. They have a good D line
and a kicker. But I mean, look, I'm just being honest. Like, I can't see how you can fix that all in one offseason, especially with your two biggest pieces being free agents. So say what you want about the Giants. That's going to be a team I look to completely fade going into next season. They are not on the up and up to me. And the Eagles were fortunate to get them in this week. And it's a great time to get them because I thought the Eagles needed a
boost,
pick me up. They needed to be able to they were kind of stale for a week and a half. Let's say a month and a half. Yeah. So that win was huge for them, and beating a division rival is beautiful. But yeah, we'll see. Any other points on the Giants game in total?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's the game is exactly what they need. They asserted their dominance with the run. It's funny. I was looking at stats. Somebody put a side by side of Daniel Jones and Andy Dalton, and it's so funny that before the game, everyone's talking about like Daniel Jones earned this extension. He's going to get extended, all this kind of crap. His numbers were worse than Andy Dalton's. And they obviously got fleet. Like, look, he's not, and he's improved a lot from the Daniel Jones that came into the league.
Yes.
And Brian Dable has gotten as much as he possibly could have gotten with him, but it's not enough. And if they have to give him a contract, that's going to be tough.
It's great.
Like they probably are. They probably are. They don't. I'm trying to think if they have 2 draft picks this year because I'm trying to think of whose draft pick.
I know. I thought they just have their one at I want to say 15 or 16.
Theirs or somebody else's?
Theirs. There was a mock the other day.
Okay.
And they had him getting a receiver.
Okay. But would they be that high though, being in the playoffs?
I guess. Well, I mean, 14 teams making now. I guess you could be as high as 18.
I thought it was not 18 or 19 that you had to be in, but
yeah.
But regardless, they're locked into that position, and so I think that helps us. With even if they do decide to sign Saquon or they don't, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting time for them. I agree with you. I think they're going to be fading them because it's crazy how much national media got on board with the Giants, and then Eagles said, "Nah, that ain't it."
No, 25 because they won the first round.
Yeah.
And they had Mel Kiper had him going Jordan Addison, so the receiver out of USC.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not well off. Cease makes another point here. Yes. He should at least been in consideration.
He should have been in the top 3. The fact that he's not in the top 3 is ridiculous.
The fact that he's not in the top 3, I think, we would say that Reddick didn't get any consideration in the top 3. Comeback player of the year for Brandon Graham, and none of those, got any consideration. It's kind of just, it's stupid. Like the whole year, and I never use. Everybody wants to use motivation. Like even the best teams are like, "Oh, nobody believed in us." And yeah, they did. But I truly believe nobody's ever believed we were a 14-3 team, and nobody's ever bought into how good this team is. So they just got some. I believe they have a ton of motivation out there. I don't watch a ton of ESPN, but every time I flipped it on, Dan Graziani and Mike Greenberg had no belief in the Eagles. It was all Cowboys all the way. I didn't watch it this week, so I don't know if that's where it still was.
Well, I'll be honest. I did watch, and it was disgusting because all they did was talk about the Cowboys losing. I even put a tweet out there. I got some attention, just not by anybody like of the who's what's or whatever, but but people had the same kind of mindset. Like they didn't talk about, and it's not just the Eagles. I'm not even saying this just about the Eagles, but they like get up and first take. They were so focused about the Cowboys losing.
Yep.
They didn't talk about the Eagles winning, the Niners winning, the Chiefs winning, the Bengals winning. Like they really wouldn't get into that stuff. ESPN is so obsessed with the Cowboys. I ended up watching a decent amount on Monday and Tuesday morning. But then another thing is too, imagine if the media treated us like they treated the Cowboys, like because they always think that the Cowboys are going to win. The Cowboys are going to find a way. And they always disappoint you. But then the Eagles, you go back to 2018, and now you go to this year, they just keep doing what they're supposed to be doing, and everybody writes the Eagles off. And I'm not going to cry about it because I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, let's just go take care of business, and they can shut everybody up later. But some people get so butthurt over it. But it is ridiculous, I think, when it comes to the nominations. I think Sirianni, like, look, he went from him and a quarterback last year. They got smashed in Tampa Bay last year to completely turning things around on both sides of the ball. You got to give Sirianni consideration for knowing to give play calling this like him. So Sirianni, he took a leadership role and he got this team to go, and they embodied him. Brandon Graham, like you said, 11 sacks coming off an injury in the first quarter of the first game last year. At 34, his best sack year, making a huge difference on the defensive line. No love whatsoever. I mean, and then you look at Hassan Reddick, what, second most sacks in the NFL? Not even considered defensive player of the year. It is insane, but you know what? Just bulletin board material. Let's go out there and let's take care of business.
No, I think it came out at a beautiful time. These awards and finalists for the Eagles, I think it came out at a really, really, really good time. What are the coaches again? I know it's Dable. Was Shanahan on there?
Shanahan was Dable, I could understand because of the team that he turned around. And Shanahan, I'm against. I think Sirianni deserves to be in there.
Joke. It's an absolute joke.
Was it Peterson? No, I don't.
Yeah, it was. It was because when I read ESPN and they put it, Peterson had the name Eagles next to him. I'm like, come on. You can't even get the effing team right. So, yeah. I think it was Peterson. Which, again, look who they play. Like, I'm not trying to be like – this division brought 3 playoff teams. The only division to have 3 make the divisional round. And we're still getting nothing. But it's fine. It's fine. Like, my point to the – and it's yours too, to the Sirianni talk was it's just not going to happen for us unless we go 17-0. Unless, Hurts, they proved he should be MVP. They went 0-2 when he was out.
Right.
He's 14-1 this season, now 15-1. It's proof. Right. It's out there. It's scripted. It's written. There's nothing else to it. But you're going to give the guy in KC because you love KC and you love Reed and you love the story. So that's fine. That's fine. Just admit it.
And they just love the way he makes the passes. Hurts just does his job. And he was the most valuable part of this team. And this is coming off of a year where a lot of us questioned him, myself included, yourself included. We questioned him, and he did everything and more.
Yep.
I have all the egg on my face from last year, and I do not care. I'm 100% here for it. You own it.
Yep.
100%.
I was with you, but I mean, what I do know about him is that the power of self correction and motivation was greater than anything we could have, estimated. And he did something not many people do, and he corrected it. He was not that accurate. He could not make throws downfield, and he really struggled over the middle. And he corrected it all. Yeah. He corrected it all. And that's a lot on Sirianni, don't get me wrong, but from the kid. And he was just amazing. And was not something I could have scouted or understood how much passion this kid had and how much heart. Knew he's a leader, but you can only lead so much when you're not getting it done. He did it all to get it done. I love it. And I love him even more, and I'm okay being wrong, like you said. Yeah, I'm okay.
I knew he would take a step forward this year. This I did not. None of us saw coming.
No.
But the people who believed in him from the jump are going to say they did. But if they're being honest with themselves, I don't. You don't go from being a guy who has a duck arm to MVP. And the addition of AJ Brown helped and everything like that. But this was one of the biggest turnaround jumps that I've ever seen a player make from one year to the next.
Yeah, and shout out to Lane for sure. He looked great out there, letting nothing through as usual. And he got 3.5 good quarters in, pulled him late in the fourth. Hey, before we go on to San Francisco, we're talking MVP talk. We're talking things get, the way that Philly kind of gets jaded a little bit in how we're treated. If the Sixers somehow get the 1 or 2 seed, Embiid's no worse than second in scoring and has his highest scoring year, it's Jokic again, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's not even a like if he didn't get it the first year, Embiid was slightly better. Last year, Embiid was better, and I think Embiid had his best year ever.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's just Embiid does it on both sides of the floor, and the fact that he didn't get it last year means he's never going to get it.
Yeah,
like he's going to need Jokic, Curry, and 2 other players to not be doing their thing, and he's going to have a better year than he had last year to get it because they just will not recognize him for what he's doing. He won't.
The story of 2 years ago was, he only played 51 games. We can't get someone who, even though he was great, and the Sixers were the 1 seed. So remember that. They were the 1 seed that year. Yep. And then last year it was, because he tried his ass off to play as many as he could, got into 68 games, heard all the story. And he went up.
A couple of those games missed were COVID.
Yep. And then he went up 2.5 points, 2.7 points per game, scoring one of the highest scoring seasons, if I recall, for a center ever in the history of the NBA, probably outside Wilt. Still not enough. Jokic was like the 4 seed or a 5 seed, and we were the 4.
Right.
Still better, but still not enough. This year, they're the 1 seed. We're the 2 seed. The story's going to be, even if he leads the league in scoring and has the best scoring ever, they're the 1 seed. So we'll remember that. We'll remember that. But, I think – I just hope they don't announce it until late because he gets babyish. But, I'm with you. He doesn't get it. It's a shame. But it's just more Philly. Hey, and that's okay. Let's talk about what is coming up at 3 p.m. this Sunday at the Link, and that is the NFC Championship game. The Eagles now making, I want to say, they're 7th in the last 22 years. The most in the NFC. The Niners making their 19th overall. The most ever in the NFC. They're 8-10 in such games, if I remember right. And, you got 2 teams that do have some history of in the NFC of being kind of premier teams. I mean, the Niners have been in the NFC Championship now 3 of the last 4 years. They've made 2 Super Bowls. Eagles obviously have 1 in the last 5, now 2 out of the last 5 years in the NFC Championship. But the amazing part is they've only played once in the playoffs. And it reels back to the days of Ray Rhodes. I want to say the game was ugly. It could have been Ty Detmer, something.
Yeah, that's
14-0. It was just not a good game. But that's it. In all these, I mean, the teams are pretty storied. I got to be honest. I mean, even though the Eagles have only been in 3 Super Bowls, they both have been in a lot of playoff games in the first time we've seen each other.
Yeah, it's going to be. What's the word that I want to? I mean, it's going to be electric, regardless. At the
first one here,
it's going to be. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a slobber knocker. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think we're going to be in for a very exciting game. One thing, just getting to the electricity of the Link, what it's going to be like. George Kittle had to stop himself from saying that the Eagles or that Philadelphia is the last place he's ever played at. He had to stop himself. He said, besides Levi Stadium in Kansas City, he was about to say that the Eagles were probably the most hostile place to go play in the loudest place. And he's looking forward to it. Debo's out there trying to say that we're not loud. But they're going to have something else coming for them come this Sunday. It's going to be something that I don't think they've seen.
No, I don't think they've seen it. I don't think they recognize it. And one of the things, you hear all through the NFL is this great story right now of their quarterback, Brock Purdy. And I want to just pull up a couple things about Brock Purdy because, what people need to realize, and good on him, right? Tremendous run this kid has had. But let's go. Since he came in, I want to say it was against the Saints here, right? Garoppolo played against the Saints. Let me look here. Okay, so he got hurt against the Dolphins, that it looks like. Yeah, hurt against the Dolphins pretty early. So Purdy has to hold on. I'll give him that win. But then let's go down the schedule. The Bucks, horrific team. Seahawks, terrible. I mean, they both made the playoffs, but not good. Like,
Right.
Commanders. Okay. Raiders. Yeah. Cardinals. No. And then you look back to the playoffs. Seahawks, his first good team he played was the Dallas Cowboys. And I give him credit. That was a good team. Let's look at his numbers here. 19 to 29. Average per attempt, 7.4. And, not overall very good. He had Kittle a couple times, but he's taken an absolute leap up in competition this week, playing the second-ranked defense. And I just think, Purdy's story is beautiful, but it's just like Daniel Jones and the Giants. I think people are over-evaluating, giving too much credit. Let's realize what this guy was. I watch him a lot of Iowa State. He's a turnover machine. And the fact of the matter is that he hasn't really turned it over much. Leads me to believe time gets everyone. Yeah. And I just have this feeling in the biggest situation, in the biggest game, his 13-4 ratio is not going to look that great come this Sunday. I think we're going to be able to get to this guy often, early and often.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the moment's just going to be so big for him. And I mean, Dallas's defense, and I think we're better, held him in check. And really, he's had a great running game, and it's no fault of his own. He's got a great running game that also helps him alleviate. So going against the talent that he's gone against, or the lack thereof, and having guys like Christian McCaffrey, Eli Mitchell, George Kittle to be your security blanket, like there's a lot of weapons for him to just pass the ball off to. It's not going to be put the ball in Purdy's hands and make it happen. It's going to be hope your playmakers make some plays. And, I know, well, let's get the Cease's comment, but I want to kind of run through a little exercise with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a good comment there. Stop seeing slow down Debo and get pressure on Burt.
Yeah, I mean,
now listen, that's great and all, and I don't disagree. If you get all three of those things, you're not going to be able to get all three. So you got to pick your poison, in my opinion. And my poison is pretty much the last one. Get pressure on that kid, and then my other piece is clog the middle. The guy can't throw long and he can't throw outside. So if we can clog the middle, that's where he tries to get a lot of his yards on these quick slants, these quick reads. And that's where Kittle's been Kittle revived himself when Purdy got in quarterback, because they really started to get the ball in those pockets. If we can, I'm not saying you slow down Kittle. I'm saying you clog the middle and you get pressure on Purdy. And I'm good enough. CMC can do exactly what, Saquon did last week. Catch a big one here and there, go 10 for 60, see you later. But, I think I'm with you. If you could get all three, they win by 38-7.
Oh, sure.
I can take one. It's the last one.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be making Purdy's day hell. That's what's going to be.
Yep.
With that being said, let's go through each phase of the ball.
I like it.
And I'm going to do like what you do with me when we go through quarterbacks. Who's better? Who's not?
Yep.
What are your top? So let's do this. All right. Quarterback, San Fran or Philadelphia?
Philly.
Running back?
San Fran.
Tight end?
San Fran.
Correct. Well, to my opinion. Offensive line.
Oh, Eagles. Philly.
Yep. Wide receivers.
Philly.
Okay. Defensive line.
So it's tough, but Philly.
That is tough. I would say, to that point, Nick Bosa is something of his own. But the fact that when you got Sweat and Graham, who were just able to cause pressure, and the line, the rotating of the line,
Davis, Cox,
the Eagles have. Yeah. Linebacker.
Them, Warner's special.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cornerbacks.
Us, by far.
Safeties.
Us.
Yep. See, we're on the same page. I mean, they like I said, I agree with you. Running back, them, McCaffrey himself, but the fact that they have Mitchell behind him, it's not crazy far the difference between those two. And then tight end, like Dallas Goedert's not that much further behind Kittle. He's not that much further, but Kittle is a difference maker more than Dallas Goedert is, just by a little bit. And then linebacker, that's a given. Fred Warner is one of the best in the game. And teams rely on 2 linebackers now. It's not even 3 anymore. We got 2 decent ones. Even, I would say if we're just talking about White and Edwards, but Fred Warner is a difference maker.
Yeah.
Besides that, Eagles have the secondary backfield, and it's going to be tough because I think the Eagles wide receivers are, I don't want to say it's super close, but it's definitely above. I would say AJ's better than Debo because Debo is really just shifty and he can play both.
Yeah.
AJ's a better wide receiver than Debo, and Devontae is way better than Ayuk, in my opinion. Ayuk's good. I'm not taking that away. But I think it's just going to make the game so much easier. I think Hurts is going to have many options on how he's going to get the ball out.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on all aspects of that. And as far as it pertains to CMC, let's just be careful because I feel like they're not telling us something. The guy didn't play pretty much the last 2 series. He became a 3rd down back. When they're trying to close out a game, they give it to Eli Mitchell. And I like Eli. He's a hard runner. But that's not what they want. He was stretching out his calf. He was wearing this little device around it. I know he can get better over, the week. He might come in, fully healthy, but that thing can get tweaked pretty quick. So that's dangerous. Your point about Kittle and Goddard is valid. The reason I go Kittle is just because of his versatility, in the blocking as well. He's a really good blocker. And Dallas is too. We saw him have a couple good blocks in some power sweeps this week. But if you go off that, it's 7-3, and it's 7-3 pretty easily.
Yeah, I just think that the offensive line, look, and this is what you got to give Howie Roseman credit because, from pretty much from his time with Andy Reid, he's really put the emphasis on building in the trenches. And he's done that. You look back at, when in week 10 after that, when he said, look, I got to bring in run stoppers, and he brought in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. You don't really hear about either of them, but they just clog up the lane. Like neither of them have really, they've impacted big time, but nobody talks about them. You don't see them, but the running, they've been in the top 10 in rush defense since they got both of those guys. So really just, this is where the Eagles shine right now, having great interior of the line between both. It makes much of a difference.
So I'm going to go with my key of the game. Let's move to yours after mine. And it is going to be on the offensive side of the ball. I think the key will be getting the ball to A.J. Brown early, often. Cease, you brought it up earlier. You think big game from A.J. Brown. I don't know how big you want to go, but I'm ready to go. Listen, last week CD goes for 10 for 117. The week before that, DK goes 10 for 132. Throw out week 18 just because it's kind of like the Cardinals didn't have much going on. They still got some receivers, like I think AJ Green got 90 yards. But go to week 17. Devontae Adams, 7 for 153 and 2 touchdowns. So over those 3 main weeks, we got 27 catches for a total of about 420 yards, 9 for about 140. That's what number ones are doing to the San Fran team and of recent. And we can even pull it back even a little further. We can look at some of the other games. Unfortunately, Tyreek didn't have Tua, but in that game, he went 9 for 146.
Right.
He had Tua for part, but Skyler came in 9 for 146. And we're not even going back that far. Right. Number ones have absolutely torched this secondary. I think AJ goes big. I think he goes Steelers big when we saw 3 touchdowns. I think early.
Right.
Yep. And I think we're able to get him loose on the sidelines. I think we're able, with Goddard back, you're able to spread that field even more with AJ. Big game. I got him over 100 yards. I got him over 8 catches, and he's the key to this game. Yes, he came out today and said, I'm not a diva. I just want the ball. I'm okay with that. And I don't think he was throwing a fit on the sidelines. He was just needing a talking to. He wasn't Diggsing it. He just wants it, and we all get that. But he also gave effort. He was out there blocking, plowing people. And this week, here's your chance. This is why we got you for, this year. And this is why we put you in these spots. You were number 1 seed with the Titans last year, and you lost. Listen up. We won our way. Now we're going to win using you, and I think it's a huge week. That's my key to this week. A.J. Brown, early, often, every down. Man, I think he's in for a huge game.
I do too. I completely agree with you. And I was going to say, based off of the Giants game is the reason why I think, because you look at it, go back to week 1 of the season, Devontae Smith, no catches because the one catch he had for 4 yards was called back
Yeah,
due
came
to a
back.
holding penalty. What they do? First play of the game, they got him a screenplay, got him moving. He had a good game. And sometimes with Devontae, if they've gone away from him for a game or so, he has a monster game coming back. AJ's in that same position. And I think AJ was dealing just maybe like with hamstring tightness a little bit. I noticed him. I was watching him after like his plays. He'd be laying on the ground, rubbing the back of his legs. Like, I just don't think he was 100% himself. And I think the Giants kind of said, like, you got to get it. You got to get it going some way else.
Yeah.
And so that's just the way that they planned for it. Maybe they do that with Devontae. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think AJ is in line. I got him as an anytime touchdown scorer already. I've already put in a little parlay for the same game parlay. I got, 4 little things, hoping for a nice little payout if things can come to fruition. But, we'll see. But with that being said, I'm going to go on the defensive side of my ball with the key to the game. And it's something that you brought up. It's getting to Brock Purdy. This Eagles defensive line is the best defensive line that he will see this year. They will do everything in their power to get pressure. They even threw some blitzes in, which was nice to see. You saw them bring up Gardner Johnson. And that's the thing. When they got the Bradbury interception, it was, I think, when they brought Johnson down the blitz. So they're going to throw him off. They're going to disguise blitzes. If they can just do some of that, they're going to put Purdy into a position where he's going to mess up. He's going to force the ball. And that's another thing you said, which I've seen. He loves the inside part of the field. Force him to throw outside. Like you said, clog the middle, have the safety play. Linebackers pull back in coverage and just hang in there. Even if you go zone at this point, just kind of have, eyes on Kittle. Let him throw the ball outside, because what he's going to do is when you clog up the middle, he's going to try and push the ball outside. And I think that's where somebody like Slay, who needs to get off the schneid, I think Slay has an interception this week because I think he jumps a route of a poorly thrown ball by Purdy. So it's going to be a mix of the defense causing pressure and forcing him to throw outside. I think we see a Slay pick. That's a bold prediction. I think we see a Slay pick. It's needed. I think it's a big boost for him, and I think it's something that gets the defense going.
Love it. So let's go on to our predictions, and I'll start. There was a period in my life when I sat here and I saw the Eagles go to, 4 straight NFC championship games and lose them all. From the St. Louis Rams at the time to the Tampa Bay Bucs.
3 straight. They went the 4 straight, lose 3.
That's right. The 4th one they went. They died.
The 4th one was New England. Yeah.
Was the Falcons. So went to 4 straight, but it was losing the Rams is okay. We played them tough. We played hearts out. Tampa was an absolute, gut punch. And then Carolina was, cut your head off. And we were at the point, like, going into that Atlanta game. I don't even know what to trust anymore. But
I only saw red. I saw red over my face. I was just like, until they actually win, I'm going to.
Yeah, I didn't know. But then they won that one, right? And then
they set the tempo.
They lost to Arizona in the middle, and it was a tough pass over the middle. Kevin Curtis.
Pass interference because the defender pulled his leg out.
Still felt good about that one because that was a good comeback year. And then, 2017, we get back there, and we're actually underdogs to the Minnesota Vikings in our home to Case Keenum. Case Keenum. They come out, they do a beautiful first drive. They get the touchdown to the tight end, Rudolph. And it's not feeling great, right? But there was something there was still heart, there was still passion, and there was still belief, because at that time it was early. And I feel like we've gotten over those early years of we couldn't win an NFC title game. And we started to really, trust ourselves. Maybe it's that, now it's the Super Bowl too, that we're just all in, and we're all in with, whatever this team does, we're going to be there for 60 minutes, backing them up and giving them the love they need to pull this one out. But in the end, they'll need our help, but they won't need it that much. I think the Eagles are the better team. We already talked about it. 7 units to 3 And then we even talk special teams, which to me kind of close to a coin flip. Gold hasn't missed in the playoffs, and we got the GOAT Jake. So I'll call that a push. But in the end, I think the Eagles are just that much better than the San Francisco team. They struggled against a guy like Jarrett Stidham. They struggled against other not so good quarterbacks. They're about to see a very good one this week, and I feel like the Eagles are going to come out early, and they're going to come out often. They're going to make a statement here to the NFL. You didn't want to pick us as an MVP. You didn't want to pick us defensive player or coach of the year. Guess what? You don't have to, because no one likes us, and we don't care. Eagles 31, Niners 13.
Very nice. There's a lot riding on this because it's been such an amazing season, a season that we thought would be good, not great, but it ends up turning out great so far. Even with if they make it to the Super Bowl, I'm almost thankful for the adversity that we saw with losing Jalen Hurts. I'm not thankful that Jalen Hurts obviously got injured or anything of the sort, but because remember when they were 8-0, there was either 8-0 and 9-0 going against Washington. They lose that game. People before that were talking about, they go undefeated, that whole thing. They lost that game. Then they went on a roll. And then, obviously Hurts gets hurt. And then we faced some adversity. The Giants game, I think, put us in a great position to get us feeling ourselves, but not in a cocky way. But just we're still the Philadelphia Eagles who were at one point, 13-1. So, and just coming off 4 or 5 barn burners where they just, smoked a couple teams in a row. This team's ready. I think they're up for the challenge. I think there's a lot to play for. This means a lot. And it just lines up so well with 2017 and the way that Howie constructed this team and the blood and the life energy that they have going on. They're ready for this moment. I truly, truly think Nick has them ready for this moment. I think they're all accountable. I think they all hold each other accountable. It's a Philly thing because they're ready for the moment. I think, like I said, going to my key for the game, defensive line is going to wreak havoc on the Niners. They're going to come from the right side, and they're going to force Purdy to throw outside, make mistakes. I think he's got at least 2 interceptions. I think one of them is to Slay. Love this for us. I'm going to say I like the Eagles here, 27-17.
All right. And then we got Cease checking in. 1 point off from me. 32-13. I like it. Get different. Ask the question, is Maddox going to play? It's trending that way. I'll say that much. Yeah. I like the idea of CJ Gardner-Johnson in the slot because it was confusing, confounding, and really good to get him up that close. But Maddox, I mean, he was the best player on the field against Dallas for the first quarter until he hurt his foot. So I'll be excited to get him back. I think it's trending that way.
Yeah, I think they said he was moving well at practice today. He was moving really well at practice.
Yeah, I think we find a way to see him on the field maybe 50% of the time. But any amount of time you can give him is plenty for me. So sounds like we both have an Eagles victory. And this isn't listen, of course I'm a little bit homerish here with the Eagles. Of course, I'm thinking a little bit more with my heart than my head. But in the end, sometimes the heart's right, and it was right last weekend. At the beginning of this year, I had Eagles Niners in the NFC Championship. You can go back to one of our previous episodes. I did have the Niners winning this game earlier in the season because I thought the Eagles reaching this point was going to be kind of their apex. But as they got better and better during the year, I've realized the apex is winning the Super Bowl for this team. And to be honest with you, nothing short of that is probably going to be acceptable to any of us right now because of how good we know this team is. Also knowing that a lot of these guys may not be back next year, and some guys got to get paid big, and that includes Jalen Hurts probably next year. So the roster flexibility and the depth may not be there again. Now's the time, and I think the team knows that. And I think the biggest challenge they'll have is staying within their emotions, staying with their game plan if they get a little bit of adversity, and not going too far off there. Because you'll see Sirianni sometimes go 12 passes in a row and really not good passes, and he'll get off away from the run game, get a little scared of it. So just stay within it because you got to have both against this good defensive line. You got to keep them home. You can't have them rearing back going after Jalen every play.
Correct. Yeah. That's
But awesome. Let's move on to the AFC Championship game, and let's project who we think the Eagles will see in Phoenix. Well, let's call it Glendale in a couple of weeks there on February 12th for Super Bowl 57. And as we watched the games unravel last weekend, I think I went 2-2. One of my losses being the Bills. I just expected a lot more out of them. I'm not surprised that the Bengals won. I have all the respect to the Bengals. I just thought the line difference was going to be too much for them to overcome. I was wrong. The line difference was too much for the Bills to overcome. The Bengals played with heart. They played with passion. They played with physicality. They didn't let anybody touch Burrow, and they were moving forward the whole time, plowing the Bills' alignment. And I'm just telling you, that's a dangerous team like the Eagles because they're playing so together. And they have a guy just so cool and calm at quarterback. It's going to be tough for the Chiefs, I feel, this week. And I know everybody's leaning that way, and I know Mahomes as a dog is really tempting to take here. But in my eyes, the Bengals are a better, well-rounded team. And I still cannot, if that is a high ankle sprain, I cannot, in my mind, believe he's going to be ready, or at least 70% of what he is in the game on Sunday. I think he's going to have trouble with mobility. Bengals were getting pressure with just 3 defensive linemen, with Hendrickson all over Allen all game. I think they can create that against the Chiefs. And if he can't move, I mean, he can't do the magic Mahomes stuff, I think Bengals just have a really good secondary and a really good linebacking unit. That Wilson's good. He's not going to shut down Kelsey, but he's going to be there in his pocket all day. I think it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. And I'm going to take the Bengals to win that game and see a Philly-Cincy Super Bowl, which is just really cool.
Yeah. So as of tonight, I had the Chiefs at -1.
Yep. It went up to 2.5. Oh, Chiefs are back to -1 now?
Chiefs are -1.
Yeah.
Line.
Okay.
It shifted back because I saw yesterday, I think it was, that the line shifted to Bengals being favored. But like I said, as of tonight, FanDuel has them at the Chiefs -1. I'm actually going to take the opposite stance. I like the Chiefs here -1. You said a lot of correct things about the Cincinnati Bengals, and they've had their number. And Joe Burrow has beaten him 3 times in a calendar year. It's something that he has been able to do, and you got to give him a lot of credit. And I really think that he is playing like the guy who threw 60 touchdowns in college at LSU. Him and Jamar Chase are just on it. He's got a great receiving core. You know, Mixon and Piron's a great running back tandem to have, even with a poor offensive line. The thing I think is, one, there is this whole 3-game win streak by Burrow against Mahomes. And now Bengals are getting cocky, and they're saying that they're calling it Burrowhead instead of Arrowhead now because Burrow has their number. Literally, since Bengals players are saying this, they're feeling themselves, which I don't blame them, but they are. And they showed Mahomes today, you know, he's moving a little better. And it probably is a high ankle sprain. I think he's going to fight through it. They're going to shoot him up with all the cortisone they can. I think he's going to be able to do just enough to get the ball to Jerick McKinnon and just have him make plays. I think that they're going to be able to get the ball to Kelsey again and have him make plays. I think you have enough playmakers on that team that are going to be able to take care of business. And I think that Chris Jones and Frank Clark are going to be able to get the Burrow this week with Cincinnati's poor offensive line. I think Burrow plays well in spite of that offensive line. It seems to be what he is, because just imagine if he had a really good offensive line. I like the Chiefs here. I think it's just with the home atmosphere. And I think there's a lot. Mahomes has to, this is going to be a dagger to him. If he loses 4 in a row to Burrow, 2 times getting eliminated by him, especially back-to-back years in the conference championship, that's a lot. To me, I think the Chiefs bounce back, and with the margin being -1, I like the Chiefs here to win by a field goal. I think it's going to be a really close game. Chiefs win by a field goal.
Yeah. I think I couldn't argue with you or anyone that says they like the Chiefs. I just can't.
I couldn't argue with you about the Bengals. Like,
It's
Burrow's
that good of a
doing
game.
things that are out of his mind right now.
Yeah, it's that good of a game. We had 3 great teams in the AFC. We got 2 of them. And we
Yeah.
got 2 great teams in the NFC. We got those 2. This is a
Yep.
beautiful championship weekend, and it's going to be set up for a beautiful Super Bowl. Either way we look at it. But we'll be breaking down the games, of course, next week. But before we get out of here, we got a few minutes left before we hit the hour mark. And let's talk about our Philadelphia 76ers, who are coming off a 5-0 West Coast swing with one of those games the night that the Eagles played against Sacramento without Harden and Embiid and down 20 plus. Maxey coming up huge that game to help seal that. Versus, if you don't know by now, Sacramento, they were the 3 seed in the West as of like Monday, Tuesday, might be around 4 now. But still, Sacramento, very solid team. So getting that 5th win out there, huge. They dominated Portland. They got kind of lucky against the Lakers a little bit late. They let them come back, and they got a little lucky against Utah. But domination wins in the other games with the Clippers and Portland. And then they come last night. And they beat the Brooklyn Nets. Sans KD, but that's okay. They're still a Brooklyn Nets team that went into Golden State and won the other day. They're still playing some good basketball. So solid win. One of the things I took away from this, Mark, Ben Simmons tried to, exert some offense in the third quarter. And he got a couple fortunate calls, and then he made a couple dunks, got it. Dude didn't play like the last 6-7 minutes of the game.
No.
How much do they think?
There was long stretches of him where he was out of the game.
Yeah.
I think he only scored like 12 or 14 points.
They had Watanabe or whatever in there.
Yeah.
They had Harris until he fouled out. They trust a lot of other people than him. So
right. Yeah, it's a tough sell. I mean, look, it's when KD comes back, they're a very, very interesting team. But Kyrie played really well. Kyrie continues to play really well. He's on a tear right now. And Seth Curry had a really good game against us, but kind of foreseen. Great shooter, and it's going to be interesting to see if he gets moved at the deadline because he is a free agent coming up, and his role has gotten smaller with the team. Be interesting to see if the Sixers try and go that route to get him, but I don't think it would happen. I just don't see a scenario where that happens, at least at the trade deadline. But the Sixers, they hang tough. And the thing is, more and more, it just makes so much sense that Maxey is coming off the bench right now.
Oh, yeah.
What Melton does defensively has been great. He was able to keep Kyrie a little bit in check, and Maxey was still able to provide. Harden and Embiid looked great. I mean, everybody just played well. It was the first time that Embiid and Simmons played, and Embiid played with that fire, and he was doing, the suck it stuff and everything like that. And, this team is rolling on all cylinders. Both teams were off of West Coast trips, both coming off of wins off those West Coast trips. But the Sixers they took care of business at home. And honestly, I'll tell you, the beginning of the game, because the Sixers went up early, and then the refs got really involved in the game. It was chippy. Yep. I get it between these two teams, but they were calling technicals on everybody, and then they were making it about them.
Yep.
It was ridiculous. They were putting guys at the line so much. It kind of skewed. That's why I think the game had a closer result of 137-133. It led to a lot of points, people getting in foul trouble. But I felt it made the score look a little closer than the game actually was. There were a lot of periods where the Sixers were ahead by a lot, and fouls, and like you said, the calls kind of went against them. And like I said, the refs really inserted themselves, I think, too much into the game, and it changed the outcome of the game. Regardless, the Sixers still won, but it was definitely chippy.
Yep. No, but another great win and during this recent, uptick in the 6-game win streak, they've rose to second in the East. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Boston loses tonight. Now I think they're a game and a half behind them for the number 1 overall. I don't quite think they get there because I still think Boston, when pushed to the right level, they're better than us, and they still will be. But I think if we can find a way to get in that 2 spot, keep Brooklyn down towards the 4 or so when KD comes back in, and line yourself up playing a team like the Knicks in the first round, then maybe Milwaukee or Cleveland in the second. It's a really good path. And I think the Sixers, the way they're playing, really have a chance to hold on to that 2 seed. Earlier in the year, they were battling for like 500 for the longest time here. They were actually sitting.
They were at one point like at the 6-7 seed. Like
yeah. This has been tremendous, and it shows what happens when they're all playing together. Like you said, Melton being in there in the starting lineup, I think gives a good solid balance, gives the bench unit, because we've always had some concerns about the bench unit, gives some pop to it when Maxey comes in. And they showed yesterday they can score against man and zone. Brooklyn really muffed it up late and played zone, but they were still able to get some good shots. Harden's now shooting like one of his career high from threes. Had 2 big threes late. So if we can get him to get that stroke, he had a good layup too late. They're getting scoring from a lot of spots because Maxey's going to close the game. This team, I mean, Doris Burke even was saying it last night on the telecast. Like, she doesn't even think they've even gotten to their second highest peak. She still thinks they got 2 or 3 more steps to go to be playing their best basketball, and that's saying something. And it'll all revolve around Embiid. It really will. We got to see if his mentality and his personality can go through adversity. And if it can, this team's got a good chance to finally get through that second round.
I'll tell you, there were points in the game where I think they were maybe down as much as like 5 at one point. I think it was like late in the second quarter where they had their bench lineup in. So it was Maxey's a starter. We get it. Like in NBA terms, most teams, he's a starter. But perfectly right now, he is, their guy off the bench. He's a upgraded Lou Will, if I had to say so myself. A guy who can just pop in, quick scoring, change of pace. But I think he's a little more polished, and he still has that chance to get there too. Like, he's only 21, 22 years old. So you had Maxey, Thibault, I think it was Harrell. Who else did they have in there? Niang, and I don't think it was another starter. Who?
Montrez? Did you say Harrell?
I said Harrell. I'm trying to think of who it was.
They like to put Shake in there at times.
Shake. Yes. So that was the lineup that was in there, and they turned around 10 points on them. And Brooklyn I think they had Kyrie, Ben, Harris, Curry, and somebody else out there. And they flipped that around. They took a couple points. They were up. I think it turned around to like 51-46 or 50-48. Like they turned it around pretty quickly, sticking with that bench lineup. Again, do I love having that lineup? Again, that was the second quarter. I think even the third quarter it didn't really hurt them to go that way. But I have a little more faith in the bench this year with Maxey being the bench guy, the bench star, than Shake. Niang has been more of a consistent player. He was able to get under Ben's skin. He was able to do some things. Very much stuff I like to see. It definitely was a good showing by their bench last night, I would say.
I agree.
In years past, we've definitely been skeptical of when he goes to his bench lineup and keeps them in there for minutes, and they just blow the game there in like the third quarter.
And his rotations are usually terrible, but it gets way better when you have a quality bench. Looking forward here, we got the Nuggets coming in, battle of potential MVPs again on Saturday afternoon. Going to be a fun one, 3 p.m. And then if we look at it, it goes Magic, Spurs, Knicks. And then it goes Celtics. We get one of them. And then Knicks, Nets, Rockets. You got another 10-game stretch here. You're 8-2 in your last 10. It's not, out of the question to go 8-2, 7-3 in that stretch as well. So they continue to rise. Boston's now lost 3 in a row, 1 game behind in the loss column. It's 2.5 overall as they're 4 games behind in the win column. But it's all roses right now for the Sixers. And what's nice is it's good basketball. They really are playing some good basketball. So it's enjoyable to watch, just like our show tonight, right? Cease, thanks for that.
Thank you.
With that said, man, it wraps up another great edition here. Running in just, I say episode 48. We missed 1 or 2 here and there, but it really marks just over the 1-year anniversary of our show here on Heat Ratio Network. And I couldn't be more happy to say that it's been a great landing spot for us. Home to a lot of great shows here. The head, obviously, Tony Cotillo and his Jigsaw Chronicles and his Daily Talks, as long as, the Flyers show with Dan Green, Al, kicking in his Sixers talk, Al Griffin. So just good to be part of a good team. just like we are, right, Mark?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And with that said, we're wrapping up tonight and be back next week. We'll let you know Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is. We're going to be talking Eagles victory. And with that, you're going to want to make sure you tune in and get the passion, pride that we have as Philly fans. It's a Philly thing. No one likes us. We don't care, but we're going to